This week's episode of Fireside is brought to you by Legends of Belize and Wonders Oddities Expo.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline, and I got a fun show for you today. My guest is musician, YouTuber, and investigator Eric Mintel. Before we get to him, just a few announcements.
Legends of Belize is a series about mythical creatures that dwell in the jungles and waters of Belize. The Belizean legends are captured, documented, and preserved like never before in a comprehensive art series and books with fully colored and detailed images of fine art by artists, authors, and award-winning animators Dismas and Grissi G. Discover the supernatural creatures that await deep in the jungles, such as the mysterious dwarf called Tata Duende with backwards feet, known to rip the thumbs off of trespassers, or the beautiful shape-shifting woman known to locals as the Ishtabai, who seduces drunks to never be seen again. These creatures and many more can be found in the Legends of Belize books. Learn about the cryptozoological, paranormal, and unexplained creatures that haunt Belize. Be fascinated, be terrified, Belize. Legend of Belize books are available in print and ebook. Buy your copy from your favorite online bookstore such as Amazon, KDP, Apple Books, and many more. Also be sure to visit legendsofbelize.com.
Also coming up, December 3rd and 4th, the Wonders Oddities Expo and the Tri-State Exotic Animal Expo are again joining forces at the Moundsville State Penitentiary. There's going to be donations for the Caring Tree for Kids. There's going to be door prizes all day long with paid admission. There's going to be free pictures with Krampus. Now, the hours, December 3rd is going to be 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., Sunday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and admission is $10. Kids 12 and under are free. I'd also like to thank everybody who voted for me for the Owly Award. I did come in second place, which is quite an honor. Even though I'm runner-up, I mean, the competition was really, really steep, and I really appreciate every single one of you that put my name in. Really, really cool of you. It means a lot. Next year, though, that sucker's mine. So make sure you go to paranormalzine.com, check and see what they got going on. Today's featured story comes in from Anna.
My name is Anna Spear, and I'm from Hyde Park, Pennsylvania. I don't know if it was a ghost or I always thought that she was maybe my guardian angel that I saw.
Okay.
It's super weird because I was probably 9 or 10, and I had woken up like suddenly. And all I remember seeing is the light in the hallway shining directly into my bedroom. And this little girl, she's dressed in like this old-timey gown, but she's younger than me, at least from what I can remember. She's probably like 5 or 6.
Okay.
And she walks out of how the house was set up at the time. My sister's room was across the hall, but I could see her door from where I was laying. And so this little girl walked out of my sister's room. She made direct eye contact with me, put her hand on the banister, put her finger to her lips like this, and walked down the steps. And that was the last thing I'd ever seen. I haven't seen her since then.
Oh, my gosh.
And that was 20 plus years ago.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
how old were you again?
I was probably 9 or 10. Yeah, I kept trying to tell like my parents and my sisters whenever I woke up, in the morning, and no one would believe me.
Wow.
My sisters, they were the ones who gave me the idea that maybe this person, this little girl that I saw was my guardian angel, because they had similar experiences in the house. But I looked into it. There's never been little girls that lived there except for us. There's never been anyone who died in there. Not like an old person, not a child, nothing. So it's not like the house is haunted either.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, kind of weird stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Anna. If you would like your story to be one of our featured stories, send me an email at firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com. All right, I want to get to my guest. Join me by the fire as we welcome acclaimed jazz musician and paranormal investigator and host of the popular YouTube channel, Eric Mintel Investigates. Mr. Eric Mintel, you with us, sir?
Hey, Jordan, how you doing, man? Nice to see you, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Hey, thank you. It's an honor. I mean, really, you got a lot going on.
Oh, my God. A lot going on is an understatement, man. It's been like, I mean, the whole month of October, I mean, literally, we were out every single day, which I love. We were doing a lot of events, a lot of speaking engagements. I was at colleges and universities speaking about our cases and about our encounters with the Beast of Bray Road and all of these other incredible cases that we've been on lately. And also just released 4 new videos. So a lot has been going on, and I can't wait to talk to you about it.
That's all. Now, tell me about your group. How many folks you got?
So my team consists, it's a very small group right now. So it's myself and high school buddy of mine who we went to high school together, Dominic Sattel, which in high school, you know, we practiced martial arts and stuff together years ago when we were doing that.
Fun.
And then kind of life got in the way. He got married, I got married, and basically, you know, we lost touch for about almost 27 years. And so he came back through a mutual friend, and we met up again. And he told me that he's a spirit medium, which I had no clue about back then. So he basically said, look, I could, you know, be really valuable to your team. So he joined the team in 2017 as our spirit medium. We also have another medium named Karen Luchin, who is phenomenal. She's over in the Pennsylvania area. And I'm right here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is about 60 miles or so northeast of Philadelphia. And then my other team member is Dave Antonow, who is bass player in my jazz quartet.
Yeah.
Which, you know, and he and I basically started this back in 2016. It was originally called Bucks County Paranormal Investigations. But now, since we've been getting a lot more jobs, we've been traveling a lot more, we changed it to Eric Mintel Investigates. And that's what we've been going by, only because we've been traveling so much all over the country.
Now, how often are you on the road?
Well, we try to get out there. I mean, we're out there all the time. When we do it, we're out for a good, for shooting videos and stuff. You know, not only that, but just with my jazz quartet too. I'm on the road practically like 8 months out of the year.
Oh, wow.
So the last 2 or 3 months of the year is what we usually dedicate to getting the videos scheduled and released. And then, you know, that time sometimes is we're editing, we're out in the field, we're doing research, we're looking at new cases. I mean, we've been getting a lot of new cases as far as UFOs. Big UFO surge has been happening. So we've been getting a lot of reports of UFOs. We've been getting a lot of Bigfoot reports. We've been getting a lot of, which is really wild, dogmanning out in this area.
Wow.
So this is really a phenomena that is going on, which I knew about the Dogman, but I didn't put too much into it. Mm-hmm. I had heard about the Beast of Bray Road, but again, did not put too much effort into doing any kind of research. I had heard of it over the years, but now that going out last year to investigate the Beast of Bray Road, and not only investigating it, but having an encounter with this thing really changed my whole perspective on the entire situation.
So all right. So first I want to start with what's your jazz band's name?
So
let's promote that. Let's start.
So that's real, you know, I had a real hard time coming up with the title for that. So it's called the Eric Mintel Quartet. And
it's very tough. I don't know how you found it.
I've been playing for the last 30 years or more. But we've been playing all over the country that way. We've had the pleasure we performed twice at the White House. We played for President Clinton in 1998.
Wow.
In 2011, we played for Obama. And then we played at the Kennedy Center. We played at the United Nations. So we've been all over the place with jazz, and usually at the last half of the year, and around the holidays, we usually do our Charlie Brown Christmas Jazz concert, which is always a lot of fun, and that takes us all over the country as well. So, and I play piano, and my mentor and my hero in jazz was a gentleman by the name of Dave Brubeck, and some of your listeners might be familiar with him, he had one of the very first records that sold over 1 million copies in jazz.
Wow.
And back in 1960, and it was a gold record. And yes, and it was an album called Time Out, and the song was called Take Five, which was actually written by his alto saxophonist, Paul Desmond. So Dave and jazz has been a very big part of my life. But another part of my life that's been huge has been paranormal. I've always loved the paranormal ever since I was a kid. I'm an only child. So my father would tell me all these incredible stories that we've got around here. And I know you being down in West Virginia, I know you've got so many things going on.
Man.
And I mean, just the plethora of history. And so all of these things up here, you know, I live right down the street from where Washington crossed the Delaware.
Oh, that's incredible.
You know, so we've got ties to the Underground Railroad. We've got ghosts. We had a huge UFO flap here in Bucks County in 2008. So, and we're still talking about that and still scratching our heads and trying to figure out what that was. So there's always something going on. And recently, just about maybe 2 months ago, had a Bigfoot report out here. Somebody saw about a 7 to 8 foot shadow, like a tall shadow crossing the road. Woo. So very, very strange stuff is going on, Jordan. I don't know what it is, but you know what? That's why we do the research, you know?
So I feel like you don't just stick to one branch of the paranormal. I kind of feel like you just want to see it all. So you're not like a UFO guy or a Bigfoot guy or a ghost guy. You're a paranormal guy.
Paranormal. Yeah. And that encompasses everything. I mean, ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, Dogman. I mean, I was up in Vermont and I went to Lake Champlain and, you know, they've got Champ up there, the Loch Ness Monster of New England, you know? So I did a little piece up there about that. So, you know, I always look at this, Jordan. I go away from these investigations saying people are seeing something. And I don't know what it is, man. Is it people that have their antenna more attuned to those locations, or do these things present themselves to certain people?
That's a great way to look at it. Like, you know, there's something, you're going to check it out, you know, and whatever it's going to go. This is a couple months ago, Barry Fitzgerald. I don't know if you know who that is. He was with Ghost Hunters International. He was a star of that show back in the day. His view now is all the phenomena are connected in some way. You know, it's one phenomena. We just are experiencing it different ways.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah, it's such a neat outlook.
It was, you know, when we were in Elkhorn, right? When we did the investigation on Lee Hampel's farm. I don't know if you've had a chance to interview Lee.
No.
But I'll tell you what, man, this whole investigation happened, and the way it happened was incredible. So I had, so one of our, I guess it was a paranormal show that was on Travel Channel. I think it was Paranormal Declassified, and they did a piece on Lee and the Beast of Bray Road. So Lee and something for 2020, and I said, you know, I'm going to give this guy a call. He seems like he's pretty open to finding some answers. He looks like he's pretty approachable. So here he had a website and his phone number was on the website. Yeah. I called him that night and we were on the phone for 2 hours talking about all of his, oh my God, all of his research, all of his pictures, everything that he's encountered out there. I mean, this guy blew my mind, man. So I said, well, we got to get out there and we got to try to get an investigation going. So then fast forward to July of 2021, we're still trying to figure out how to get out there. So one of our fans and friends, Ellen Collins, she is a big fan of the group and of our team. She told me, she's like, you know, we should do an investigation of the Beast of Bray Road. And I said, well, that I would love to do that. The only thing we're running into is how are we going to get out there and who's going to pay for it? And because we're out here in Pennsylvania, how are we going to get out there? And, you know, and so she said, let me crunch some numbers. So anyway, she paid the whole thing. She paid for our way out there. She paid for the hotel. She paid for editing, the whole 9 yards. So I made her the executive producer of the video.
Fair.
And she's been phenomenal. And she's been just great. So so that's how it happened. And then so fast forward to October of 2021, October 2nd through the 4th, we go out to Wisconsin and met up with Lee. And just, I mean, he took us into the barn, showed us all his pictures, video. I mean, Jordan, when I tell you this guy's got pictures that will blow your mind, man. I mean, he's got these weird lights, like UFO type lights going through the woods.
Wow.
And it was just the spookiest thing. Now, when I looked at that, I said, man, could that be like maybe ATVs or something like that going through the woods, you know? But when we got out to Wisconsin, this was during another follow-up we did last year. Of April of this year. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But there was no way that lights could go through the woods because we were in those woods and they're so dense. There's no way you could get a vehicle in there. So it was very strange. But anyway, so we get out to Lee's in October and he's showing us these pictures, the video. I mean, pictures of these weird lights and footprints and hair samples that under the microscope are translucent. And it's like, is this thing, he's never been able to get a clear picture of it on his trail cam because it senses that those cameras are there. And it just seems like it doesn't want, it knows that they're there and doesn't want to get its picture, or it's somehow using this cloaking device to not be seen. Because I only say that because there's a picture, which is very, very weird. It's this like black mist that comes up on the trail cam, right? And Lee was putting roadkill deer in what we call the bait area where he's had all this activity. So he put this roadkill deer. You could see the roadkill deer that's in that bait area, and then you could see this black mist, right? So those trail cam pictures are about 30 seconds timed apart, right? So the second picture, the mist is gone, and so is the deer.
Oh, wow.
Which was spooky as hell, man. And we're down in that area. I'm like, so Jordan, here's the thing, man. I went out there on this investigation thinking, okay, we're going to get a great documentary. We're going to hear some great stories. We're going to talk to some awesome people out here. Not thinking once that we'd ever encounter this creature, which we did that night. And this was unbelievable, man. So we get down to the bait area and start the investigation. And the first thing that happens, man, we see a UFO.
Really?
So Dominic looks up, right? And I thought we were going to have to scrub the entire investigation because it was really cloudy and it looked like it was going to rain. So, but when we got out to that area in the field, we looked up and it was clear as a bell. You could see the stars. Everything was clear. Then so on the investigation this time, it was me, Dominic, Ellen, and Ellen's son, Scott, who was our cameraman and drone operator. So Dominic looks up and goes, "What the hell is that?" And he looks up, and here's a solid orb of light going over the field. And for all intents and purposes, man, it was a UFO. It was just like silent. You could see other planes around it. You could see other planes blinking. You could, like regular plane lights, right? Jets and whatnot. This was just a solid orb of light. And later, we double checked to make sure it wasn't the space station, or it wasn't Starlink satellites, which it wasn't. It wasn't that. Now, the weird thing was it went overhead. We're watching this, trying to figure out what it is. And all of a sudden, on camera, you could see this on the video. It does a 45-degree angle and blinks out and disappears.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, it was shocking. So then the second thing, Jordan, when I tell you we heard this thing, man, I want to just put this into perspective. So what we were wearing lavalier microphones, right?
Yeah.
I know you have a brand new setup there, right? And it's beautiful. This we had for close miking, right?
Yeah.
So a close mic right on our lapel. So the second thing that happened to us is all of a sudden we hear a howl in the distance. Very faint howl. Second howl, we hear it getting closer. It's a little bit louder. Dominic's looking at me. I'm looking at Dominic. I'm like, what the hell is that? And it definitely was not a coyote. It wasn't a coyote howl. We know what that sounds like. This third howl, when it made a howl, and your listeners will be able to hear this on our video. The video is called The Beast of Bray Road, Alive and Well on Eric Mintel Investigates. The third howl this thing made was like a man screaming in the field. It was this low, guttural, like just like I mean, this growl, scream, yell combination, and it didn't pitch either. It was one solid, and it went forever, right? And it was just this. So we both looked at each other like, "Oh shit, what did we stumble in?" You know, because I figured. Here's the other thing, Jordan. We had no protection. We had no weapons, no nothing, and that was me being stupid because I didn't think we were going to encounter anything. And now I know differently.
Yeah, anytime you're in the woods there, Eric, you need something because it might not be paranormal. You could have, bear, coyote, anything could come up on you.
It was, and that was one thing that really changed my perspective too, was being prepared. And there's something there. He's got something on that property. And the third thing that happened was very weird. This mist came up. A very weird mist came up from the field, and then it started messing with the electronics.
But you could see this mist.
You could see it. Okay. It's hard to see it on the video itself, but it was there. And it was a very, it was like a faint mist, but it was messing with the electronics with our microphones because you could hear it cutting in and out. So that third thing was crazy. And then just so many different things happened that night. Like later on, we got back to the hotel. The entire town of Elkhorn's power went out. Yeah, it was insane. And then the next morning, I look in my hotel room and I have a stick that I must have brought back from the field, from Lee's field. And Dominic looks at me and goes, I said, "Look what I brought back." He's like, "You brought it back with you, didn't you?" But I was like,
throw it out.
I know, right? We got rid of it. Oh my God, man. It was just insane. And then Lee says, he texts me in the morning and says that, by the way, the trail cam pictures, nothing was on there last night. It seems like everything was shut off at 5:00 before you guys started the investigation. And It didn't take another picture until 7:00 the next night or the next morning. Very, very strange stuff, man.
Hey, so for those of you that out there that don't know, can you share what the kind of the lore behind the Beast of Bray Road is?
Yeah, the Beast of Bray Road, and this is something that I wasn't too familiar with until, I did some research on it, but the Beast of Bray Road is an upright canine. It's supposed to be an upright canine, dogman, werewolf type creature, 6 to 7 feet tall, with red glowing eyes. Now, we saw that after we heard the howl and after we saw the mist, we kept shining lights over into the corn. Now the corn was up, right? So the corn was still up in the field, so it had plenty of cover to hide, right? So we had the light over there, and we could see eye shine. We could see these eyes darting back and forth in the corn. Now that when I saw that, that's when I said, "Okay, we got to get out of here." Because this thing was really starting to stalk us, because there was no wind that night, but we kept hearing all of this very weird rustling sounds behind us. So we didn't know where it was. It could have been behind us. It could have been, across the field. I didn't know, but I think there was also more than one there. So that was when I said to Dominic and Ellen and Scott, I said, your safety is more important than an investigation. So let's get back, let's get out of here and leave it alone. Because to me, it was saying, this is my territory, get out of here.
Like a warning.
Exactly. I'm sure you've had listeners say that same thing about with Bigfoot, and those kind of situations, and that was something brand new to me as far as the Dogman encounter. And then come to find out later that these Dogman encounters and these sightings have been happening all over the country. People are seeing this. Out here, we're doing an investigation out here, right down the street in Bryn Athyn, PA, which is just a little bit above Philadelphia. It's northeast Philadelphia, and it's called the Bryn Athyn Beast. And people have been seeing this thing for years. And the same thing. So Jordan, here's what happened too. So we came back and we did a follow up.
Okay.
On in April of this year, and what we found, now we didn't encounter it this time. We didn't encounter the creature this time around, which I'm kind of glad we didn't, because number one, people might have thought if we saw it again, we could be hoaxing it or faking it. So we didn't encounter it. But what we did walk away with, we did a town hall meeting in Elkhorn at the Matheson Memorial Library.
Oh, wow.
We had over 140 people show up to tell their story of seeing this creature.
Really?
I mean, 140 people. Oh, it was insane, man. And what I also got out of this town hall meeting was the way this thing walks and the strange way this creature moves. And it was very, 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 very fast. And it was like gliding, not typically like, a person would be bouncing their head up and down. This is gliding along, but very, very fast. And the way it moves, it was just gliding. And the same thing with the Bryn at the Beast account is the same way of walking. It's gliding. So it's very strange, man. There's and you're talking about the guy that said all these are connected. Mm-hmm. These are all interconnected, man.
Well, let me ask you this, because you did go up there twice and you did kind of mention it around werewolf. What was the moon conditions while you were out there?
Well, that's what I was thinking too. Well, there was no full moon, no nothing when we were out there in October. And if there was a moon in April of this year, we didn't see it because it was really cloudy.
Okay.
And it was really rainy and it was very, very cold too. That was one thing that I wanted to try to do, was to see if we can make our next investigation, like tie it in around the full moon.
Tie it in around the full moon, put you a roadkill in the bait spot, and then set up a tent right there and just see what happens. Just check it out.
And just see what happens. Exactly. And that's what we did. And here's what we did the last time. And Lee thought this was funny. Ellen had this idea of bringing mannequins to the field and putting steak bones around the waist. Ugh. Of these men. But
that way they know your food when they see you next.
Exactly. I don't, and I don't think it worked, only because, now I'm thinking to myself, maybe these things are a little bit more afraid of us than we are of them.
Could be.
But George, here's another wild story here. So with Elkhorn, now Ellen, she has been having these reoccurring dreams that this creature put. When we heard that howl the first time last year, you could see Ellen on the video. It looks like she's going into like a little bit of a trance, right?
Okay.
She says that this creature put its claw in her palm, and it told her why it's there. Now, I find it strange that Lee has also been having the same kind of dreams, and there's some kind of connection there. Ooh. That's one thing that we're looking into as well. I don't know what that is. And it told her that they're there because their species is dying, trying to procreate. And it's similar to what you hear about a lot of times with the aliens.
I was getting ready to say.
There you go. Yep.
I was getting ready to say species is dying out. They need to repopulate. Little hybrid action, taking her by the hand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, could it be extraterrestrial? Oh, that's the thing. Lee's pictures. He has a picture which is really, really strange. So he's got these orbs in the middle of the daytime, like these orbs right in the middle of the day, and inside the orb, it looks like the creatures in these orbs, right? So it's very, very, very strange. So what I'm thinking to myself is, when we saw the UFO, did this thing actually deposit this creature that night? That was one thing that I thought. But, there's so many theories, man. I mean, it's like you really step away with more questions than you do answers most of the time. And that's the thing. You'll never get like a definitive answer, right? We just did it. I'm switching gears here. The week after we got back from Elkhorn, we did an investigation on Bigfoot in the New Jersey Pine Barrens.
Okay. And
that was crazy because we actually encountered that this is funny, man. Within 10 to 15 minutes of getting on the investigation and starting this investigation, things happen. And I always say that Dominic he's like a magnet for these things because, him being a spirit medium, this was totally out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And the Beast of Bray Road really freaked him out. I mean, it freaked us all out.
I don't know how you couldn't be freaked out.
It was just, well, seriously, months we were trying to figure out what we heard, and we still are, you know. But even the night of the Bigfoot investigation, all the researchers, Art Mack, and as Art talking, we hear whoop in the background. Now, keep in mind, we're 5 miles into the Pine Barrens. There is not a soul around. And then we went about 600 feet. Once we parked the truck, we went about 600 feet into the woods and set up a base camp. So when he heard that, Eric Spinner was another researcher there. He had these high-powered microphones that picked it up, and you could hear it. So then Eric's wife starts answering it back.
Really?
And they start having this, oh my God, they start having this conversation back and forth. And it's the spookiest thing, man. It was just so weird. And then we kept seeing like little pinpoint red dots of light in the woods that night. So there was something definitely there. We just couldn't see it, but we heard it, you know. Same thing with the Beast of Bray Road. We couldn't see it. We couldn't see the physical thing, but we heard it and we knew it was there.
Now that reminds me, I had he's an investigator in PA. He does I think it's Pennsylvania Bigfoot. His name's Tom Mihawk, and he does investigations around the Chestnut Ridge area.
Oh yeah, yep.
And he talked about the last time he was on, they were on an investigation with, I believe, the group Small Town Monsters.
Oh yeah.
And they were filming out there, and then there was these lights out in the woods that, you know, they couldn't explain where it was coming from. They heard noises out there, and these lights were everywhere.
It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that connection.
Maybe that's a Pennsylvania thing.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, you guys down in West Virginia, I mean, you've got one of my favorite cases down there, man. Indrid Cold.
Oh yeah.
In the Mothman encounters down there. But you know, you had in West Virginia Wally Derenberger, who was coming home. Do you know about this story?
Tell it.
He was driving home from, I think it was somewhere in, oh my God, in Kentucky, and he was driving back to his house in West Virginia. And as he's driving down this highway, he all of a sudden this vehicle passes him, and it completely like stops right in front of him. Well, it's not a vehicle. It's a UFO, but it looks like, you know, those old kerosene lanterns, like those old kerosene things that you would hold like a railroad conductor would carry. That's what it looked like, but on its side, like sideways. This thing landed right in front of his truck. He stopped the truck,
blocking the road.
It door opens up, and this guy comes out of the vehicle, who was not an alien per se that we all think that, you know, they look like. This was a normal looking guy, but the weird thing about this guy was he had this grin. He had this, like, they called him the grinning man, and he had this grin that was going like from ear to ear, but and scared the hell out of this guy Walter that was in the truck. He came over to the passenger side of the truck and basically telepathically told him to roll down the window and asked him where he's from, and just had a pleasant conversation there with this guy. And it was both speaking and telepathically. And it was the weirdest thing, man, because this guy gave so many details of, he was, I guess his name was Indrid Cold. And he was known as a searcher, and they were searchers from this planet Lanulus or whatever, which later he found out about. I mean, it was so bizarre. And they had this conversation, and it lasted a few minutes. He gets back in the UFO, and it takes off. And well, this guy, Walter, was just like, I mean, gobsmacked by this thing.
Right.
And it made, you know, he didn't even want to talk about it. He didn't even want to do, you know, and then he was trying to tell his wife about it. And finally, I think the word got out, as it usually does in the newspapers. And then it wound up getting, you know, all over the national press, and he was doing interviews and all kinds of stuff. But just those accounts of those kind of things are just so bizarre that, you know, you have to say to yourself, these people are seeing something. These people are encountering something. You know, I just watched, there was a great shock doc that we watched last night about Whitley Strieber and his communion. Oh my God. Incredible documentary. But, you know, there's a handful of people that with this UFO abduction phenomena that, I mean, are really legitimate. I'm on the fence with most of them, but I think I mean, the handful of people, you got Betty and Barney Hill, Calvin Parker, 1973, Travis Walton, 1975, and then Whitley Strieber. And so just a few of these people had these incredible encounters that, I mean, it's really affected their lives. I mean, they're just never wavering from what happened. They never wavered from their story.
Yeah. Speaking of Betty and Barney Hill, just a quick plug. I have Kathleen Martin on the show next week.
Oh, cool. Tell her I said hello. I interviewed her a couple of years ago.
Very cool. Nice.
She's a great lady.
Yeah. When you're talking about like Injured Cold and all that, you talk about the whole Mothman debacle, right?
Yeah.
There was so much that happened that wasn't just Mothman. Like even in the book, Mothman Prophecies, he was like, he wasn't even the main character.
Right. Exactly. I know.
It was insane. And there was these sightings all over the place, nonstop. And talking about Injured Cold and things like that, what is your thought on the Fae?
On the what?
Fairy folk.
Oh, I got to be honest with you. I don't know too much about that.
Yeah. A lot of folks, take a lot of the UFO and extraterrestrial happenings at the time and attribute that to the Fae.
Really?
Yeah, that's a big thing. And especially some of the UFO encounters that people are having, they say it seemed more like fun and trickery as opposed to intergalactic.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think, we were talking about this last night too. I don't think that the extraterrestrials are coming here interstellarly. I think they're already here. I think they're in the oceans, or else they're on the moon.
That's what a lot of folks are saying.
Yeah, they've got to be coming from somewhere close by to have so many sightings all the time. That's just one theory. The other thing is, could there be a way of them coming through portals? That was the other thing too. That was one thing we talked about with Lee's property. Could that be a portal? Because what happened to us earlier in the day, Scott had his drone and he was like, we were doing reconnaissance during the day.
Nice.
And he had us on his drone, right, from above. And he has to wear virtual reality glasses in order to, do the drone. They're very high-tech drones. Anyway, so we're over the field and we're in that bait area and we completely disappeared off of his screen.
Oh.
So there was some kind of weird electromagnetic area there. He couldn't find us anywhere. And we finally reappeared, eventually. But that was really something strange that, and Lee he's adamant saying that there is definitely a portal out there, that he's dealing with all of these, because here was another theory, these Dogman sightings that are happening all over the country. Could these things be traveling from portal to portal? I know it sounds totally out there, right, to even think that way. And here's the thing: could we even be talking about this 10 years ago?
No,
right? It's like everything is so commonplace anymore. People are also more comfortable coming up and telling their stories. That's why I was really happy with this town hall, because people had no problem telling us their story. Although there was a couple of people there that said, well, how come you didn't stay out longer? How come you didn't stay out and wait for it? I'm like, well, I said, she's like, has this ever killed anybody or attacked anyone? I said, well, ma'am, I'm not going to find out. I'm just going to sit there and wait to find out. So, yeah.
You don't want to be part of that bait pile.
Exactly. Yes. So it's, it's fascinating, man. It's just the whole stories. Not only just the cryptids that we've been encountering, but the ghost investigations that we've been on. And to be honest with you, Jordan, when I go into a ghost investigation, I'm more skeptical that way than I am with, say, UFOs or Bigfoot.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. I know.
I was just thinking as you were talking, right? Like 10 years ago when I did Whispers, I was like, did the ghost investigations, paranormal stuff. And that's really the only thing I really had any, I guess I'm more of a skeptical believer than I want to admit. And that I could buy. But like the cryptids, nah, they were just stories. UFOs, I'll hear what you have to say, but not really taking it to heart.
Right.
But man, really, as time goes on and you hear more and more stories, and what if is big? What if?
Oh, yeah.
And you start thinking, you're like, man, there are a lot of forests out there, and this story's fun, but where does it come from? Why is it somebody on this side of the globe and this side of the globe having the same kind of experience at the same time? Or, even before there was even communication, between countries, back when, there's stories of this same creature. It's like, oh, okay. Well, where does this come from?
It's been, and it's been there. Exactly. I totally agree. I mean, it's been there for centuries. I mean, and we're still discovering things that are part of that we thought were part of the fossil record, and they're still alive.
Yeah.
Especially the oceans. No,
I mean, look at kangaroos, gorilla. They were all cryptids at one point.
Absolutely. When we did the investigation of Bigfoot in the Pine Barrens, we also, after that investigation, we met up with Tom Carey. I don't know if you've got a chance to interview him yet.
No.
But Tom is the authority on the Roswell UFO crash.
Oh, wow.
He wrote about 7 books about it, talked to a lot of the witnesses that actually handled the wreckage and the bodies of the extraterrestrials. So very incredible guy. But I didn't know that Tom was also an anthropologist. So here, Tom is telling us all about what he thinks Bigfoot could be. And the Patterson-Gimlin film that shows Bigfoot, which we all know as Patty because it's a female, obviously. But, he thinks it's oh man, and I always get the name wrong, but it's a very interesting name, Paleo Robustus Javanicus, something I can't remember. I'll have to let you know. And
I hope you're not asking me to correct you in that, because I
think it's Paleo Javanicus robustus. That's what it is. Paleo Javanicus robustus. And what it is, it's basically what the living representation of this thing that is supposed to be extinct for, thousands of years. And it's what it is if you look at Bigfoot's head, there's a sagittal crest. You know how it goes to a point at the very top? So there's a muscle, there's a bone up there that the muscles are attached to. And that's what this creature, it looks just like that. So is this something that could have survived? Here's the other thing. Could Bigfoot also be unevolved humans? Could that be what that is? There's so many questions there.
See, I don't buy that one, because, they always say like humans started small, and then there was just like this one freak branch that went like 9 foot tall, and then we shrunk back down.
True.
Yeah, I don't buy that one.
That's true. I look at it too like this. Look, here's the other thing. Extraterrestrials. That's the other theory was, could they be us from the future?
Ooh.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. Because in Tom's research about Roswell, he found out that these extraterrestrials were not extraterrestrial. They were extra dimensional, and they were us from the future. That's what he found out about that. And it's interesting that this shock doc that was on last night, it was called The Visitors for Whitley Strieber, basically alludes to the fact that these creatures were us from the future.
How about that?
Very, very strange, man.
Getting deep.
Oh yeah, very, very. Oh yeah, it could get deep here, but we'll keep it pretty relatable for the listeners right now. But I'll tell you now, switching to the ghost thing, like I said, I go into that situation, on the skeptical side, but I really want to find out what are people seeing and hearing, But I do have to say this: the more I've been doing the ghost investigations, the more I am becoming a believer in the fact that there's and what we've caught on camera, that there's a very thin veil from here to there because of what we have caught on camera, what we've heard. We've seen orbs, disembodied voices. We just did this great video and released it just a couple of days ago, a haunting at the Hanoverville Roadhouse. And I would encourage your
Okay.
listeners to look at that video. I'll tell you, Jordan, when you see this video, the owner showed me a security camera, a static video shot of the dining room. And he told me that he had heard a loud crash. He was upstairs. This is like 11 o'clock. There's nobody there. He's up in the office doing paperwork, and his office it's over the bar, but it's upstairs from the dining room. So he's nowhere downstairs. Anyway, he heard a crash and didn't think anything of it, went down to go check it out, came back upstairs, didn't see anything, but figured, let me roll back the tape and see if there's anything on there. Sure enough, he looks, and here in the dining room, this chair bolts out from the table. And I mean, it goes so fast this way, right? Then 5 minutes later, after that chair moves, you see an orb coming over from the side of the camera over to the chair where the chair and the table were. And then you see a sugar packet container get thrown on the floor.
Oh, wow.
And there was nobody there. Like we were there because I wanted to debunk if that was a hoax or not.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way it could have been, because there's a wall on the bottom part of that table that it's built out too far. So you couldn't stand there because that security camera will see somebody there. And plus those restaurant chairs, these are heavy oak chairs.
Wow.
There's no way you could take like a fishing line or anything like that to pull it. It would snap it, it was just so crazy. So, but what we encountered and what we caught on video in the attic was unbelievable, man. You got to see this video. I don't want to tell you what it was. I want you to go check it out.
Hey, no, let everybody know where you can find that.
Yeah, they could see it on YouTube at Eric Mintel Investigates, and go over to our Facebook page as well, Eric Mintel Investigates, and Instagram, Eric Mintel Investigates. But if you guys have a smart TV, you could add on every Saturday night, you could add Central New Jersey Network to your device and add that to your channel list on your smart TV. And I'm on every Saturday night through the Central New Jersey Network, which used to be Princeton Television, at 11 o'clock. And from 11 to 11:30, they play all of our new videos. And then we're also on all the streaming services like Roku and Apple TV. So any of those things that you have, if you could add that channel to your device, you'll be able to see us. And then out here in Pennsylvania, we're in the Lehigh Valley area. If some of your listeners are up in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania area, we're on Service Electric Television on Sunday nights at 10 o'clock.
Well, that's cool. Now, is it like a live show, or does it play your YouTube videos?
It plays our videos. Yeah, it plays our productions. And yeah, so they're about a half hour long. We've got a lot of sponsors and commercial sponsors that have been with us from the beginning.
Very cool.
And yeah, it's amazing, man. And I just love it. I do all the editing, and being a musician, I love editing, because to me, editing's like putting a piece of music together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Now, how often do you put out a new video?
Well, let's just put it this way. I just released 4 videos within the last 2 months.
Wow.
So a couple of, like, you'll take probably a good month or two to shoot and get all the footage of the different videos that we've got coming up. And that's the ideal thing. We've got about 4 videos coming up, maybe even more than that now, that we're getting on shooting schedules. And we try to get one out, at least 1 or 2 out a month.
That's awesome. So go out there, y'all. Go subscribe to his channel. Help him out.
We're working hard, man. We need the help. We're working hard, man.
Do you know how many subscribers you got so far?
It's over 1,000. It's
Come on.
1,100 and something.
Nice. So go out there and support.
Yeah, we got a really great fan base, man. And we're putting out some really great entertainment and really good. I mean, the investigations that we're doing, it's legit. I mean, it's like, when we first started doing the videos, they were like, to be honest with you, they were a little tongue in cheek, with their little humor here and there. But the more that we've been doing this, and we're turning into we are paranormal tourism. We're showing people where to go, what to do, where to stay. And then when we do these videos, we're actually doing some events to go along with those videos. So we did one called Hallowed Grounds at the Homestead, which is just recently also released. And so we did a screening of the video, and then we took groups of 10 people at a time, in through the 1759 farmhouse that we investigated, which again, on that video, if you see it, the owner had a complete meltdown on camera. It was just insane what happened that night. And we started it out as a very lighthearted video. It was going to be a fun video.
Yeah.
Well, it quickly turned into serious, man. It was crazy.
Man. Now, Eric, we are out of time for now. I want you to tell all the places you can be found online so people can hook up with you.
You got it. So people in the jazz world, you can find me at ericmintelquartet.com. And then all the paranormal world, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Eric Mintel Investigates, and on Facebook at Eric Mintel Investigates. Also look me up on Eric Mintel on Facebook, and then on Instagram, Eric Mintel Investigates. Yeah, we're all over the usual social media stuff, and always putting out great content.
Perfect. Eric, thank you so much for joining us this week. You have a great night, sir.
Man. Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had a blast. It was quick.
It went by way too quick. I'm like, what the hell? We'll do it again for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Hey, you have a great night, sir.
All right, you too, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.
And with that, the fire is out. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, all of you that listen. If you haven't connected with me on social media yet, go to Fireside Paranormal Hub on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter at Fireside Parapod. That's Parapod. Instagram, TikTok. The website is firesideparanormal.com. Go there to get all your sweet, sweet Fireside merch. There's sales all the time on that thing, so make sure you check back often. And I don't want to leave out the Patreon. Patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. Members get bonus audio. They get the after-interview conversations with the guests. They get the interview-only portion of the show, so you don't listen to any ads. There's also merch, giveaways, and a private Discord server, as well as a name drop. So again, patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. Make sure you check that out. That is all the time we have for this week. So until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.